Sylvia glared at Jack, who didn't notice her at all. He was busy staring at Jeremy. Jeremy clenched his fist and cleared his throat before saying, "It's not good to read that book. It's a forbidden book, full of taboos. One of you is a police officer and one of you is a scientist. You should be reading something more positive and educational." "He's just joking," Sylvia said sheepishly as she threw Jack another look. He caught it this time and quickly nodded. "I was just joking. It's getting late. We should be watching the news now. Mr. Jeremy, I think it's time for you to go back." Jeremy was dumbstruck. "What has watching the news got to do with him going home?" he retorted. "I'm sorry, I don't watch the news." Jack was speechless. Everyone could tell that he was getting jealous and finding an excuse to chase Jeremy away. But nobody knew what else to say. They couldn't come up with an appropriate answer to the situation. Finally, Lenny said, "Sylvia needs some rest. I think we should head back now that we've already seen her." "Yeah," Clyde agreed. "Come on." All right. Jeremy wasn't planning on staying anyway. He didn't leave the previous night because he was worried about her. Now that her life was no longer in any danger and she was well taken care of, there was no need for him to stay and impose on them. When he reached the door, he turned and said to Jack, "You should peel some kiwi fruit for her to replenish some vitamin C." Jack nodded. The room was finally quiet again, and Sylvia was ready to reprimand Jack. "Who said you could tell people that I enjoyed Snow White? Did you do it on purpose?" "I didn't." Jack shook his head. "You said you wanted to hear it in the afternoon." Sylvia was at a loss for words. If she wasn't injured, she would have gotten up and hit him. "Well, you can't say that in front of so many people." Jack pursed his lips and didn't say a word. He did it on purpose. He wanted Jeremy to know how liberal and wild he and Sylvia were together. April couldn't bear to watch them anymore. "All right, if you're not embarrassed about saying it yourself, you shouldn't be embarrassed about other people finding out," Sylvia said in a frustrated tone. "April, why are you helping him and not me? Don't forget, you are my real sister-in-law, not an imposter." "I'm on the side of reason," April smiled. "You guys are ganging up against a patient," Sylvia grunted. "April, it's getting late. Will you help me get some water to wash up with? You can go back after this. My brother should be arriving soon." Jack scooted closer. "Sylvia, I'm good at these sorts of things. Have you forgotten? You made me serve you tea and wash your feet. I even cut your toenails for you before." April laughed. "He's doing such a good job. I better leave it up to him." "Don't!" Sylvia said quickly. It wasn't the same thing. She wanted April to help her with her private area. She wasn't usually embarrassed when they were getting it on after taking a shower. She was dirty and unclean at that moment. She didn't want him to be repulsed by her as they weren't even married yet. April could read her mind and she walked over to her, whispering, "This is the time to put him to the test. I know what you're thinking. You're embarrassed and you're afraid of ruining your image. But for two people to get together and stay together, you have to be prepared to show each other your worst sides. You can use this opportunity to observe him. You should consider swapping him out with someone else if he's too concerned over things like that. That's how your brother and I managed to get so far. I took care of him when his legs were injured, and I've seen him at his worst and least. I still love him through everything. That is the kind of love that will last a lifetime." Sylvia was shocked. "I'm not like my brother, all right? He would still think the world of himself even if he fell into a pit full of crap. I still have self-awareness." April chuckled. "I'm serious. This is the perfect time to see if this is the man you'd want to spend the rest of your life with. You're not getting any younger. You can even get married this year. Don't waste his time if you think the two of you are incompatible." Sylvia laughed. "You act so different now that you're married. You speak such wise words even though you're younger than me." "Well, I definitely know more about marriage than you," April said. Sylvia fell silent for a while. Never mind. You should go home. I understand what you're saying. Jack saw the two women exchanging a few words before April left. He was a little confused, but glad. Sylvia, since she's gone, you only have me to wipe you down. His eyes gave away his joy. Sylvia glanced at him. He added, It isn't appropriate to keep troubling her either. After all, you aren't single, and she also has a child and husband. All right, hurry up and pour me a glass of water. Sylvia couldn't stand hearing his excuses anymore. Jack gladly walked towards the bathroom. As it was his first time, he was especially serious and careful to leave a good impression on Sylvia. When his eye swept past her thigh, which was wrapped in layers of bandage, he could only imagine how bloody it would be on the inside. His heart ached. Why are you looking at my thigh? Sylvia awkwardly shifted her legs. Is it because you think that my leg isn't as pretty as it used to be? No. Jack hurriedly shook his head. It doesn't matter if it's pretty or not. What I like isn't your leg, but you. What if I actually became a cripple? Sylvia asked in a low voice. The doctor said if it were just a few millimeters more, I wouldn't be able to move my leg anymore. I can always make a prosthetic limb for you, Jack said after a short pause. Sylvia kept quiet. That wasn't what she wanted to hear. Sylvia gritted her teeth. Thank you, but I have enough money to make my own prosthetic limb. I don't need you to make one for me. I can make a better one, Jack said stubbornly. Sylvia sighed. That wasn't the kind of conversation that male and female leads had in romance novels. Jack could tell that she became upset all of a sudden and got a little confused. He didn't know what was wrong with what he said, but still added, You won't become a cripple, and even if you do, I'll never leave you. Thank goodness he isn't incorrigible, Sylvia muttered. After wiping her down, Jack continued to read to her. Sylvia only fell asleep at 9 o'clock that night. Only then did his gaze move to the tulips at the bedside. He had his eyes on that bouquet of flowers for a long time now. He had never hated tulips so much in his life. He didn't like it when things sent by other men were this close to Sylvia. Weren't they just reminding her of Jeremy's existence at every fleeting moment? He needed to think of a way to get rid of that bouquet. It was a quiet and uneventful night at the hospital after that. The next morning, Sylvia woke up from the pain in her wound. Her head was spinning, and she felt very uncomfortable. The moment she opened her eyes, she found Jack leaning innocently at her bedside. His raven black hair fell over his raven black lashes, and his cheeks were squished together. He looked so gentle and quiet that she wanted to reach out and pat his head. She didn't hold herself back. Jack sat up immediately. Sylvia, are you uncomfortable anywhere? His eyes were still bleary, and he had dark eye circles on his fair face. No, why didn't you lie down on the bed last night? Sylvia said. It's so uncomfortable to be leaning down. You could have slept on the sofa, too. I was worried that I would press against your wound if I lay on the bed, and if your family comes suddenly, they might be unhappy. Jack rubbed his eyes and realized that it was already bright outside. Sylvia, are you thirsty? I'll get you some warm water. Sylvia agreed to his suggestion. The thermos flask was on the side table. He poured water into it. She looked in his direction and realized that the bulbs of the beautifully wrapped tulips were all gone. Only the long stalks and wrapping paper were left. From her years of experience as a policewoman, she could tell that they were broken off on purpose by someone. She was silent momentarily before asking, How did the tulips become like this? Jack's hand shook a little. Indeed, what happened? They were still fine when I went to sleep last night. Sylvia kept quiet. Could he have gotten any more obvious? It was so obvious that he didn't even dare to look her in the eye when he said that. Why did the flowers disappear? Sylvia asked him directly. Maybe they were eaten by rats? Jack replied sheepishly. Sylvia was speechless. Are rats eating flowers? Did he think that she was an idiot? Seeing as how he was breaking out in a cold sweat, she couldn't bring herself to put him on the spot. So, the VIP ward has rats. That is really horrifying. You must remember to catch the rats for me in the morning. Yes, have some water. Jack passed her the water guiltily. After she was done, he said, These flowers aren't pretty anymore without the bulbs. Let me throw them out. I'll get Mr. Maxwell to deliver a few more bouquets later. I'll make sure that the ward smells fantastic. Do what you want. Sylvia was amused. All men were jealous creatures, no matter what kind of person they seemed to be. After washing up, Jack sat by her bedside and said seriously, Sylvia, I talked to the doctor yesterday. She said that your leg needs at least 3 months to fully heal, and it's going to be at least a month before you can start walking. This month, I want to take care of you myself. Sylvia was taken aback for a moment. My parents want me to return to the family mansion. My family is there to take care of me. I know, said Jack with a troubled look on his face before continuing. But at the mansion, I won't be able to stay late until you fall asleep every night. After all, your dad, uncle, and the others are all there. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to be there. I might as well take a month's leave to take care of you. Can you do that? Asked Sylvia, surprised. Didn't you say that you have to investigate some photoelectric effect in January and that you have to give a talk in Korea in February? And don't you have to give a lecture once a week at the university? I'm not going anymore. I'll get someone else to go, Jack said nonchalantly. You're more important than anything else. Sylvia was very touched, but also apologetic. I've already made calls to cancel all of those. With the fire blazing in his eyes, Jack told her directly, I do love science, but I love you more. I want to stay with you during your most difficult time. Sylvia choked up in an instant. She remembered April's words. Perhaps that would prove to be the test for the two of them. To find out if he was worth spending the rest of her life with. If someone was willing to be with you at the lowest point in your life, then there should be no problem with anything that comes your way for the rest of your life. Sylvia stayed at the hospital for a week. The doctor only approved her discharge after she could at least stand without wobbling. During the few days before getting discharged, Sylvia told her family that she decided to go back to her own apartment to recuperate, and that Jack would be taking care of her. Although David and Aaron were strongly against it initially, April talked it over with them and they eventually agreed. After sending Sylvia back to the apartment, David inspected it from top to bottom, before finally saying to Jack, I don't care who you are, and let me warn you, you cannot take advantage of my daughter's injury to crawl into her bed. Jack nodded guiltily. He did, after all, climb up there a long time ago. Aaron and April left together. On their way back, he said in an upset tone, That Jack is too cunning. Sylvia definitely won't be able to keep her chastity this time. April gave him a doubtful look. Aaron mumbled in a low voice. Think about it. Sylvia has trouble moving around now, so Jack will definitely set up a small bed beside her to watch over her at night. As he watches over her, he'll climb into her bed. April blinked in disbelief. Why did that scenario sound so familiar? Aaron continued, Just like you and me in the past. I also had trouble moving around, so you carried me onto the bed. April was speechless. After so many years, I'm finally vindicated from this gross injustice. April rolled her eyes sarcastically. Don't assume that all men in the world are as shameless and dirty as you. Jack will never do something like that, and even if he does, it will be... What will it be? Aaron asked hurriedly. She couldn't possibly say that it would be Sylvia who would carry him to the bed. After all, Jack probably wasn't that strong. Stop overthinking it. Sylvia's injured and he isn't a beast. They continued their way home. At 8 in the evening, Jack panted as he carried Sylvia, who was wrapped in a bath towel, out of the bathroom. He placed her down on the bed, then said softly, Sylvia, you've gained weight recently. What did you say? Sylvia had just taken a bath. She felt as if she had just shed a layer of skin from her entire body and felt very relaxed. Hearing his words, a sharp gaze immediately pierced him. No matter how dull he was, he could still sense the imminent danger. Jack stammered, I said that you grew fuller. Sylvia's heart screamed in pain. Why must her leg be injured? She really wanted to pounce on him right there and then. Just as the atmosphere had gotten more surreal, Jack's phone rang. He picked up immediately after looking at the number. Mom? Son, it's New Year. Your dad and I are finally back from stargazing in Bolivia. Come back and have a meal with us tomorrow, Rosaria continued. You can also bring your girlfriend with you. You've been freeloading off her family this New Year, so it will be good for your dad and me to meet her. Oh, right. There's been a breakthrough on black holes while we were stargazing in Bolivia, so we can have a discussion on that as well. Jack was in a tight spot. He glanced at Sylvia. Her leg is injured. I need to take care of her, so I won't be coming back to eat with you. Is that so? Rosaria's voice had a slight air of regret to it. Then you should stay there. Oh, yes. Do come with us to Rome this April. Many scientists have received strange electronic signals from outer space recently. Your dad will be working on it too. Okay. Jack's face turned serious. He hung up 10 minutes later. Sylvia exclaimed jokingly, Don't bring an alien back for me, all right? Jack gave her a strange look after hearing her words. Aliens are too far away from us. If you really want to see them, you might be able to after a few thousand or million years. Sylvia blanched. No, thank you. I don't want to see them at all. Can you bring my clothes over? I want to get dressed. Jack was embarrassed at the fact that he had only just remembered that she had not gotten dressed yet. He hurriedly brought some clothes to her. She had no problem putting on the shirt herself, but because her leg was injured, there was no way she could put on the pants. Although he had been helping her the entire week, he still felt embarrassed every single time. He felt that since he had seen almost all of Sylvia, it would be ludicrous if he didn't marry her in this lifetime. Sylvia, when I'm back from Rome, let's meet my parents, he stammered out. Sylvia looked up at him. His clear eyes were filled with anticipation. All right, she said after a moment's thought. After getting dressed, she watched some television while Jack did her laundry for her. Even her undergarments were scrubbed clean. Although Sylvia was lazy, she had always washed her own undergarments. However, due to her current situation, he was the one washing all of her things for her. His actions had indeed touched her. April had said that this was the time to test him. Although she couldn't contact him in time the day she was injured, his progress since then would definitely be awarded the highest grades. Another day had passed, just like all the other days before. It was the next morning. When Sylvia woke up, Jack had already left her side. She walked out with her crutch. Hearing movement, Jackie immediately ran out of the kitchen barking. Jack also followed behind hurriedly while frowning. Why did you walk out by yourself without calling me first? Hurry up and sit down. Stop overreacting. I'm fine if I lean on my crutch. Sylvia covered her mouth to yawn as she asked, What are you making? I'm making eggs Benedict. I know you like it, Jack said with a smile. Can you make it how I like it? Mr. Maxwell taught me this morning. Sylvia was speechless. Mr. Maxwell worked really hard. 15 minutes later, Jack carried over a beautiful eggs Benedict, as well as some toast. The toast was topped with cheese, garlic, and herbs. The food tasted delicious. Sylvia had to admit that his cooking had improved tremendously. We'll be going to the mansion today. Let's drop by the supermarket later. We can't go empty-handed. She only just finished talking when a call came from her captain. The perpetrator died in prison last night. Sylvia was shocked as she quickly swallowed the food in her mouth. Suicide? I'm not sure. His corpse was sent to the forensics department for an autopsy, Captain continued.
He died quite peacefully, and the police only found out the next morning. There wasn't any injury on his body. He looked as if he died from overdosing on sleeping pills. But how could he possibly acquire items like that while imprisoned? It's really strange."
Sylvia agreed that it was indeed strange. Perhaps he had some illness that we're unaware of. It's unlikely that he would take his own life since he wasn't sentenced to death. He also had some mental illness, so he could have just been sent to the mental hospital. Captain fell silent for a moment before saying,
"I hope so. Anyway, I hope this wasn't a case of revenge. After all, even if a policeman is injured along the way, we must still follow the law."
"Captain, what are you trying to say?" Sylvia sensed a double entendre in his words.
"When your brother visited the last time, I told him that the perpetrator was mentally ill, so the judge might show some compassion and give a lighter sentence. Your brother got really angry and said that he wouldn't let that guy off so easily."
Captain sighed.
"To be honest, knowing what your brother is capable of, killing that guy is probably—"
Sylvia got angry before he even finished. "Captain, you don't know my brother, so you don't understand the kind of person he is. But I do. I can tell you with full confidence that everyone in the family has a deep-rooted military history. My brother was trained in the army from a young age, so he knows better than anyone what discipline and abiding by the law mean. Even when my granny was stabbed by someone and faced with certain death, he sucked it up and complied with the law. While he may say things like that, he will never do anything illegal."
"Please don't get all worked up," Captain said, flustered. "I'm just asking. As the police, we cannot let our judgment be clouded by our feelings. We need to consider every possibility with logic and rationale."
"I understand," Sylvia said, "but I am willing to guarantee with my life that you're beating a dead horse here. It's best to just wait for the forensic report."
"All right."
After hanging up, Jack, who was feeding Jackie, raised his head.
"Did the perpetrator suddenly pass away?"
"Yes," Sylvia replied as she massaged her temple. "This case is a little strange. I'm guessing that his sudden death might have something to do with that gun." Jack looked confused. "It's all right. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Just eat up and go to my paternal grandma's place first, then we'll go to my maternal grandma's place at night." They finished their breakfast before heading out. The two of them moved slowly. It was already 11:30 by the time they reached the Bennett family mansion. Aaron and his family of 3 were already waiting. When Little Apple saw her in a wheelchair, his eyes filled with worry. "Auntie, pain." "Yes, it's very painful." Sylvia stroked his tiny face. "I heard that your uncle's been taking care of you. Has he been doing a good job?" "Uncle, good." Little Apple smiled to reveal a row of pearly white teeth. "Like Uncle, don't like Daddy." Sylvia burst into laughter while Aaron's face darkened. "Didn't Jeffrey only take care of you for a week?" "The food that Uncle makes is good," Little Apple said, all smiles. Sylvia asked April with a smile, "April, aren't your parents still in Europe? Why don't you ask Jeffrey to come over? Isn't it lonely and boring to spend the new year alone?" April sighed heavily. I did. But he said that he wants to visit his girlfriend's hometown to spend time with her parents. I don't even know where that is. I have to give it to him. He's supposed to come back on the 7th, but school is starting in 2 days, so he's hurrying back tomorrow. What perplexes me even more is that even his girlfriend is too busy to go home, and he has the guts to say that he wants to fulfill the filial duties for his girlfriend? Sylvia was shocked. Your brother has understood perfectly what it means to become a son for another family, but looking at how proud and arrogant he is, who would have known that he'd be so obedient to his girlfriend? That's right. It's really unbelievable. April shrugged. I want to see what kind of amazing legendary creature his girlfriend is. Sylvia looked dazed. To a woman, Jeffrey's a really good man. Sylvia couldn't help but praise him.
Sylvia, I'm also a good man.
Jack, who was listening to their conversation beside them, spoke up unhappily.
I didn't go home during the New Year either, and I'm here with you too. If you think that I'm still not good enough, I can even marry into your family.
No matter what, he had to become the best guy in Sylvia's heart. He didn't want her to think that he'd be disposable in the future. April burst into laughter. Sylvia grew flustered and said with exasperation, "Have you talked to your parents about marrying into my family?"
There's no need to. It's my life. I make my own decisions,
Jack said nonchalantly. Sylvia couldn't keep a straight face and broke into a smile. All right, I don't care about stuff like marrying into my family. What's so great about finding a guy who will marry into my family anyway? That's so boring. Why don't I just marry you? You'll need to get a palanquin with 8 carriers to come and get me.
Sure.
A shy smile graced Jack's fair face. At that moment, Granny Bennett came out of the room. She smiled warmly.
Whoa, it's Jack. I heard that you're the one who's been taking care of our Sylvia. Oh my, you've grown skinny and frail. There's no such thing, and it's my duty to take care of Sylvia,
Jack said. Sylvia couldn't help but complain. Granny, why did you send him a message the other day saying that I was in mortal danger? You're going to scare him to death that way. Granny Bennett smiles.
You were in mortal danger that day. I didn't lie, and I also wanted to scare him.
You scared him to death, Sylvia muttered.
Sylvia, come with me to the study,
David said with a frown. In the study, Sylvia closed the door and initiated the conversation. Dad, are you going to talk about the perpetrator dying in jail?
Yes,
David nodded.
I just received news that the cause of death is muscle paralysis caused by a poison that stopped his heart. This poison has never appeared in the country. However, there have been many deaths in Brazil that were caused by this poison. That's why someone named this poison K1NO2.
Sylvia was surprised. How did a poison like this make its way to our country? Much less by an average criminal who abducts women?
Indeed. This is a slow-release poison, which means that the criminal must have ingested the poison before he was caught. Maybe the person who gave him the gun didn't want the larger criminal network behind this to be revealed. Or maybe the other party wanted you dead.
David frowned deeply as he said that. Sylvia was shocked. How can that be? As a policewoman, I have been apprehending criminals left and right, and I may have made some enemies along the way. But why would I be a target of these so-called other parties who shouldn't be powerful enough to obtain dangerous and obscure poisons from overseas in the first place? David gave her a disconcerted look. He was sincerely concerned for his daughter.
There's something I've been keeping from you and didn't want to tell you, as it concerns some top secret information. You must not tell anyone.
Sylvia had not seen him this serious in a long time. She grew increasingly anxious.
Do you know why I have always been against your relationship with Jack? It isn't because I don't like him, David continued in a low voice. It's because I discovered that he was part of some secret and dangerous research run by Italy's SU group. He came back to Rosewood City after quitting 3 years ago.
Sylvia blinked. SU group?
It's a mysterious organization that only dabbles in rare and secretive research projects. The people working there are all rare talents, David said. There are physicists, astronomers, biologists, and all kinds of geniuses from all over the world.
Sylvia suddenly recalled how Jack needed to go to Rome, which happens to be in Italy, in April. Dad, the reason you're telling me this, you don't think that someone is seriously targeting Jack and tried to harm me? After all, I am his girlfriend, Sylvia said with a smile. Isn't that too far-fetched?
Far-fetched?
David frowned.
There are indeed research projects that may benefit the whole of mankind, but there are also those that can be used by criminals for their benefit. Think about it. Why did he need protection when he went to Paris?
Dad, I don't think that those two were related, Sylvia continued after a moment's thought. Even if Jack had participated in some dangerous research in the past, some research projects are dangerous in the first place. Even if the results of his research managed to attract the attention of some criminals, I'm not afraid. That's all the more reason why I can't leave him. I will continue to protect him. David's heart was heavy.
Sylvia, I'm proud of you for thinking this way. However, as your father, I cannot support this. You may think that I'm selfish, but I only want you to be safe. Of course, I also hope that these two incidents are unrelated.
Sylvia's heart warmed. In the past, she always had issues with David. However, it was undeniable that he had always doted on her. Dad, I had a close call with death just a few days ago. And before that, I almost died in a fire at the laboratory. My job is dangerous by nature. I can't neglect the danger that comes with my job and just focus on his. It's not like I never went to any of the dates that you guys set up for me in the past. All of them said that it's dangerous for a girl to be a cop and that they would rest easy if I had an office job. But Jack never said that. He has never disliked my job. And so I should respect him and treat him the same way. Besides, if someone really wanted to do something bad with his research, if I turn a blind eye and run away just for my own safety instead of helping him, what kind of policewoman does that make me? David fell silent. Indeed, as a father, he was only able to see the other person's shortcomings.
All right, but just be more careful in the future, David said meekly. Until the case is solved, I will ask your brother to arrange for some people to protect you.
The conversation in the study ended peacefully and they continued with the day's events after that. That night, on his way home from dinner, Jack's phone kept buzzing while he was on the road. He didn't pick it up and left it on the console. Sylvia glanced at it. Director flashed on the screen. Why aren't you picking it up? Sylvia asked.
I don't pick up calls while driving.
Jack shook his head stubbornly.
Unless it has something to do with you.
Sylvia took his phone and accepted the call before holding the phone up to his ear. A voice was immediately heard.
Jack, about the lecture in Korea, I hope you can reconsider. This is a rare chance. Many renowned academics will be there, and among the younger generation, only you are up to the task. Professor can do it too. I will send him my research materials later. There won't be any problem, Jack said stubbornly. I've already said that I won't go, and I'm still driving. I'm hanging up.
It's all right, even if you go for a few days, Sylvia said softly. I can stay at my grandmother's for a few days. There's no need.
No!
Jack thought to himself, what if Jeremy took advantage of his absence again?
Drop it. I've made up my mind.
Sylvia didn't say anything else. She only reached out to hold his right hand in silence. Their hands entwined. Jack liked it that way. They seemed extremely close. But it was a special circumstance.
Sylvia, I'm driving now. I can't concentrate if you do this.
You can't concentrate with just this? Then what if I do this? Sylvia smiled mischievously, then slid her hands up his thighs. Jack tried to catch his breath as his entire face turned purple. He didn't dare to continue driving and quickly stopped the car along the roadside. But Sylvia withdrew her hand.
Sylvia!
He was very disappointed. Sylvia burst into laughter when she saw his disheveled face. When she had finished laughing, she glanced at him and asked solemnly, Jack, have you done any dangerous research?
Dangerous ones?
Jack was briefly caught off guard before replying.
There are many. Sometimes an explosion may occur while conducting research. Other times, while developing new equipment, they may get out of control. There are just too many.
Sylvia lowered her lashes in silence. Jack grew anxious.
Sylvia, are you worried that my job's too dangerous? It isn't all that dangerous. It's fine as long as I'm careful. Besides, when we get married, I will buy a really expensive life insurance policy. If something happens to me, you'll receive a large sum of insurance. Enough for you to enjoy the rest of your life and swap out boyfriends as many times as you wish. His voice grew weaker as he spoke. Sylvia smiled helplessly. Are you sure that I can change boyfriends as many times as I wish? Yes, Jack said gloomily. I want you to be happy, even if I'm not there. If I end up in agony, I don't mind bearing all the pain by myself. Sylvia couldn't take it anymore and squeezed his cheeks hard. Idiot! If you want me to be happy, then don't leave me. Only you can give me happiness. If you aren't here anymore, the only thing left for me is pain and sorrow. Besides, have you ever disliked how dangerous my job is? I've never thought about it. Jack shook his head. I cannot stop you from doing the things you like. Even if I am afraid of losing you, I can't possibly stop liking you just because your job is dangerous. I'm looking for someone I love, not just someone suitable for marriage. Sylvia's heart pounded. How unusual for you to say something like that. You almost don't seem like yourself. It's Mr. Maxwell who said that, Jack said a little abashedly. In the past, my parents always tried to introduce partners to Mr. Maxwell, but he wasn't willing to meet them. He said that he doesn't want to find someone suitable for marriage, but someone that he loves. Sylvia was reminded of Mr. Maxwell's face. He was still handsome despite all his wrinkles, and lost her smile. So, he's single till now? I'm not sure. I'm not interested in his affairs, said Jack as he shook his head. But Sylvia, why did you suddenly ask about my job? You've been acting weird ever since you went to the study with your father. Sylvia was surprised. How did you become so sharp now? Of course I will pay attention to everything about you, since I like you. Jack's face looked troubled. It's all right if your father still doesn't like me. I will work harder to improve his impression of me. He doesn't dislike you. Don't overthink it. Sylvia took his hand. Let's go home. Home? Jack happily restarted the car, and they made their way home. That Saturday, Carlo and Lenny went over together to visit Sylvia. They brought some dishes with them for dinner, as well as some fresh turbot and shrimp that they bought on their way. Jack went on to steam the fish seafood in the kitchen. Lenny watched his back smilingly. Professor Kipling's a good man who takes care of his family. But are you sure that you don't need me to help? Just have a seat. You guys are our guest, Sylvia continued with a proud smile on her face. I want you guys to have a taste of how good my boyfriend's cooking is. Carlo raised his eyebrows a few times. When do you intend to marry Professor Kipling? We need to start preparing your wedding gifts. Around the end of this year, Sylvia got straight to the point. Wow, so it really has been decided. Lenny was happy for her. Yes, I think it's about time, Sylvia nodded. She then suddenly raised her voice towards the kitchen. I'm just waiting for him to propose to me. Since it was an open-concept kitchen, as noisy as the ventilator was, Jack heard her voice. His whole body shook. Carlo almost burst into laughter and whispered, Isn't your hint a little too obvious? Sylvia picked up a toothpick to get herself a slice of honeydew melon. I have no other choice. My boyfriend's too oblivious to social cues. If I don't give out obvious hints, I don't think he would dare to propose to me. Not even after my hair has turned gray. Lenny and Carlo nodded simultaneously. They agreed that she made complete sense. Oh, that's right. Is there any news about the death of that criminal? Sylvia asked. What kind of poison is K1NO2 exactly? It's difficult to say, Lenny frowned. Only tetrodotoxin has been identified as one of the compounds. There are 7 other toxic compounds in it, and they all seem to be extracted from unidentified microorganisms. However, Captain has done a lot of research on this, and apparently, there have been similar cases in Brazil. The victims seem to be related to this underground organization called Talks.
Jack was just walking over with a plate of fish, and his hands trembled when he heard that name. Sylvia propped up her chin with her right hand. I heard that Brazil is quite chaotic now. Many international criminals are there, from drug traffickers to arms smugglers. Could the people from that organization have sneaked into our country?
It's difficult to say, Carlos sighed. The past few days we have investigated everyone who was around that guy, or has come into contact with him, but we couldn't find anything. According to his neighbor, he was too antisocial and had an odd personality, so nobody was willing to befriend him or even take any notice of him. His family also only visited him once every few months. My guess is that his death has something to do with selling weapons.
Looks like this case might just go cold, said Sylvia as she frowned, crossing her arms.
Not necessarily. Maybe better to let Interpol take over the case.
When Carlo looked up, he noticed Jack in a daze a few feet away. He immediately stood up.
Professor Kipling, is the fish done already?
Yes. Jack bent down to place the turbo on the table.
And so is the shrimp. Get ready to eat.
They all enjoyed the seafood dinner. Carlo and Lindy left after dinner at around 8:30. Jack was focused on sweeping the floor. Sylvia waited till he was done, then signaled over to him.
Sylvia, are you thirsty?
Jack walked over while wiping his fingers. Sylvia sat up straight and hooked her arm over his neck to pull him down. Her eyes were filled with passion. Did you hear what I said earlier? So, when do you intend to propose to me? Jack's eyes grew wide in surprise. Watching the pretty face that was only inches away, he gulped anxiously.
Sylvia.
Wait. Sylvia focused on him.
I don't know how,
said Jack, trying to find an excuse. Sylvia raised her brows and said boldly, I might know how. Jack was speechless. His head was burning hot. After she had her bandages removed a few days before, the doctor said that she needed about 20 days before she could walk again.
Sylvia,
Sylvia didn't wait for him to finish. She started kissing him passionately. Jack stumbled and was pushed down onto the sofa. He cradled her waist anxiously.
Your leg has not yet recovered.
That's right, my leg hasn't recovered. Sylvia bent down, her raven black hair draped down her shoulders. At that moment, a gentle but seductive look gleamed all over her beautiful face. Thank you for taking care of me for the past few days. Will you marry me? Jack was so shocked that his pupils constricted. He almost thought that he was hearing things.
Are you proposing to me?
Sylvia was stunned by what she had just said. She realized that she was getting bolder and bolder each day after getting together with Jack. She was getting used to it as well, and she would no longer blush at such things. Her heart rate did not quicken at all either. Since she had said it already, she decided not to explain herself. Instead, she merely sat there, watching him quietly. Jack stammered,
You should leave this sort of thing to the man.
He had been considering how he should propose to her when she was talking loudly with Carlo earlier. He didn't want to be careless or insincere when it came to getting down on one knee. However, he did not expect her to ask first. I might have been a little impatient. Who made the rule that only men could propose anyway? Sylvia was grinning, and she stroked his ears with her fingers as she sat on him. I'm tempted by beauty right now, and you are a male version of a vixen. Jack squirmed into the seat, his cheeks flushed red.
Sylvia, stop. It's ticklish.
Cut the nonsense. What do you say? Yes or no? Sylvia was straightforward in her reply. I'll give you 1 second to consider. How was he supposed to think in 1 second? Jack glanced at her lips, and he nodded his head without hesitation.
I'm willing. I'm extremely willing.
Sylvia burst into laughter. She thought that he was so adorable when he said that he would be extremely willing to accept her proposal. She kept giggling without saying another word. her eyes sparkling and gleaming. Jack wrapped his arms around her waist, and they sat there as he hugged her quietly.
"I'll go get a ring tomorrow. I'll buy a pretty ring for you."
Sylvia laughed harder as she lay on his chest. Jack was confused.
"Why are you always laughing? What's so funny?"
"Yeah, I don't know why. I'm just so tickled." Sylvia looked at his face. It was always so easy and comfortable being around him. The girl in his arms fell asleep at 11 p.m. Jack had been staring at her in the dark for a long time before he finally tiptoed and got up. He went to the balcony and called Mr. Maxwell.
"Mister, why aren't you asleep yet? It's so late."
He could hear loud background music wherever Mr. Maxwell was at.
"Mr. Maxwell, where are you?"
Jack asked.
"The bar,"
Mr. Maxwell chuckled.
"I don't have to take care of you at night now. I'm just out for a few drinks to relax." "Mr. Maxwell, it's not right to go to a bar at such an old age,"
Jack replied seriously.
"Get to the point, mister," Mr. Maxwell said softly. "What's the matter?" "Yeah, the Talks organization. I remember hearing about it," Jack said softly.
Mr. Maxwell was shocked.
"Do you still remember that organization?" "Sylvia brought it up today," Jack said anxiously. "I heard that the criminal who injured Sylvia died from eating this poison, K1NO2. Isn't this toxin related to this Talks organization? How did these things end up connected with each other?"
Mr. Maxwell's voice was serious.
"I don't know either."
Jack followed, tugging at his hair.
"Did Sylvia get hurt because of me? Are they spying on me?" "Mister," Mr. Maxwell interrupted him. "I'll investigate this matter. Things may get complicated if this is truly connected to the Talks organization. Do you remember that explosion that happened when you went to Vietnam with your father when you were a child? It was related to the Talks organization, and your father has mentioned it to you before. You became a lot more of a recluse after that incident, which is why I'm surprised that you even recall the organization. After that incident, the police made a big arrest and placed a lot of their men behind bars, but I heard that their leader got away."
Jack frowned.
"In that case, did they rise from the dead?" "I'm not sure," Mr. Maxwell replied helplessly. "But for criminal organizations like theirs, they will never disappear if you don't eradicate them. Your mother said before that their group gathered in Vietnam for their plan to revive the Cuvier. They will obtain boundless wealth the moment they manage to revive this historic animal."
Jack took a deep breath before asking,
"Did they target Sylvia as a warning for me, or was it just a coincidence?" "Stop overthinking," Mr. Maxwell chided. "I'll contact Interpol and ask them about it. It might have just been due to the guns." "All right." Jack was vexed. "Anyways, Sylvia proposed to me today, and I want to have a good life with her." "Isn't that quite—" Mr. Maxwell suddenly stopped halfway through his words. "She proposed to you? It wasn't you who proposed to her?" "Yes, she proposed first."
Mr. Maxwell fell into complete silence. He then coughed lightly after a long while and replied,
"Miss Bennet is indeed unlike any other ordinary woman. She is exceptionally brave. She truly is the perfect match for you." "I think so too."
Jack's lips curved into a smile, which then faded 3 seconds later.
"She's so special, and I don't want her to get hurt because of me." "She won't. Besides, Miss Bennet isn't an ordinary person," Mr. Maxwell comforted him.
His young master finally found a woman he liked. If anything happened in the future, his heart would never be able to take it. The next afternoon, Jack had a lecture at the university. He had originally wanted to cancel it, but Sylvia said that there was no need and that she would go with him. After all, it would be boring to stay at home all day. Occasionally, they would also go out to breathe in some fresh air. Jack naturally agreed. He would always assume that since she was a police officer, Sylvia lacked intellectual knowledge, and thus she should study a bit more. Of course, he would never tell Sylvia about his thoughts to prevent her from getting upset. Sylvia and Jack still had some time left after reaching the university. After parking the car, Jack convinced Sylvia to take a stroll around the campus. Many students in the school recognized Jack but were unfamiliar with Sylvia. After all, aside from that period when she was investigating that case, she rarely visited the school. She usually met Jack outside for their dates as well. However, Sylvia quickly noticed that along the way, the young girls who walked past them would frequently turn back and glimpse at Jack. "Who's that? Is he your school's most handsome student? He's so good-looking." One of the girls could not help but squeal. "Don't spout nonsense. He's a lecturer from the physics department. My goodness, why did Professor Kipling find a cripple for a girlfriend over the New Year festival? If I'd known that his standards were so low, I would have chased after him myself." "Stop dreaming. Even though his girlfriend is handicapped, she has well-defined features. She's very pretty." "Come on, with plastic surgery, who isn't pretty these days? Speaking of which, I'm sure Professor Kipling came to school today to give a lecture. I'm gonna have to leave now. I need to reserve a seat." "What? Is a maritime student like you going to listen to a physics lecture? Are you kidding me? Can you even understand it?" "I can just use my phone if I don't understand it." The young girl fell silent, baffled by her companion's words. However, Sylvia had sharp ears. She had originally gotten angry when she heard them, but she calmed down afterward and glanced at that neatly dressed, graceful man behind her. She then thought to herself and realized that they were just speaking out of jealousy.
"Sylvia, what's wrong?"
Jack noticed her looking back at him and immediately bent down to ask. "I'm thinking about how handsome you are," Sylvia giggled. "Jack, why are you so good-looking?" Facing the sudden wave of compliments, Jack was stunned for a few seconds. His face instantly blushed.
"This might be related to my genes. In the future, our children will certainly be good-looking as well."
Sylvia paused for several seconds before realizing that he was taking advantage of her. She reached out to pinch his elbow. "Who is going to have children with you? You're so shameless." Jack pouted.
"Don't forget that you proposed to me last night."
Sylvia immediately stopped talking. This guy had even started talking back to her. It was Jack who spoke first.
"Sylvia, how about we go to a French restaurant later?"
he suggested. Sylvia smiled. "You even know to bring me to eat good food now. Professor Kipling, you've improved."
"Don't you like French food?"
Jack replied with an innocent gaze. "I don't want to go. I want to eat in the school canteen today," Sylvia said. "I haven't eaten at your school for a long time and I suddenly miss it." Along the way, she would inform all the students who had their sights on her man that this guy belonged to her. Especially in a school full of youthful vitality. Young flowers were everywhere and they certainly attracted too many bees. When they reached the classroom, it was already full of students. The last time she visited, Sylvia was not his girlfriend yet, so she did not pay much attention. However, as she took a closer look this time, she realized that 2/3 of the class were female students. Jack pushed her into the room. A small brown couch was specially placed in front of the lecture podium. Jack carried her onto the couch, and she could hear the sound of the students collectively sucking in their breaths. Jack bent down to speak to Sylvia as if he had not heard them.
"Sylvia, I hope you won't fall asleep during my lecture later."
"Of course not. I had a good rest last night." Sylvia perked herself up. Indeed, she would wound his ego if she fell asleep in his class. Jack hesitated for a moment, then said,
"Listen properly to my class. You'll learn a lot."
Sylvia fell completely silent. After Jack got onto the podium, a male teaching assistant behind her tapped on her shoulder.
"Pretty policewoman, have you finally gotten together with Professor Kipling?"
Sylvia turned around to look at him. That teaching assistant was also present the last time she was there. The teaching assistant glanced at her leg.
"It looks like you and Professor Kipling have been through a lot,"
he said with mixed emotions. Sylvia didn't utter a single word. What had they gone through? Why didn't she know? 10 minutes into the lecture, Sylvia could not take it much longer. She desperately wanted to use her phone. 20 minutes later, she was about to fall asleep. This was the driest and most boring lecture she had ever heard. She observed the students behind her. They were listening attentively while the girls were fixated on their phones. Some of them were even taking photos. Afterward, she turned back and just went to sleep. When she woke up, she found that the classroom had become very lively. Jack frowned as he stood in front of her, looking a little upset. "You slept again." "Indeed, I slept again. Do you have any problem with that?" Sylvia raised her brows brazenly. "No, I don't have any problem with it." Sylvia's lips curled into a smile. "Your students are waiting to ask you questions. Hurry up and attend to them." When she finished, she turned around to tell those students, "If you genuinely have any questions about physics or astronomy, I'll welcome you. However, for those of you who want to get closer to him under the pretense of asking him questions, I advise you to just give up and behave yourselves. Firstly, don't affect those who sincerely want to learn. And secondly, he already has a girlfriend. His girlfriend easily gets jealous and is overbearing, and she can't take it anymore." Her words were so full of conviction that all the students were stunned by her charisma. Jack was also gaping at her in shock. The girls who were timid immediately left in embarrassment. However, several louder girls were still unconvinced. "This is a school campus, and you guys aren't the ones who opened the school either," one of them rebutted. "Even if you're Professor Kipling's girlfriend, you can't come here just to throw a tantrum out of jealousy and affect other people's studies." Sylvia's sharp eyes immediately swept over that female student. "Can you let me take a look at your notebook?" Under her gaze, that girl felt strangely uneasy. She bit her lip and stuttered, Why do I have to show you?" Sylvia stared at her for a few seconds before abruptly smiling. "Because your notebook certainly doesn't have many notes in it. Those who are genuinely studying will have a notebook full of notes like this student." She paused for a while before picking up the notebook belonging to the male student beside her and holding it up for everyone to see. "I may not understand physics, but Professor Kipling is completely humorless in class and only knows how to talk about facts. Hence, you should take down notes throughout his lectures. Look at how meticulous his notes are." She returned the notebook to that male student before turning to that female student again. "I think I've said this before. Don't disturb those who genuinely want to learn. The reason why I said this is because I saw many people leaning against the window just to listen to Professor Kipling's lecture. Some were also leaning against the wall at the back to listen. However, several people took up the seats in the classroom, yet they weren't listening attentively. Furthermore, Professor Kipling only has half an hour to answer your questions after class, but there are those amongst you who aren't even from the physics department, but you still came to ask questions. All that you guys want is to look at him up close. You guys are shamelessly wasting everyone's precious time and space. You don't have any consideration for those students who genuinely have questions to ask. Professor Kipling doesn't even come every day. He only has one lecture per week." When she finished speaking, the whole class became quiet for a while. A student who was squeezed to the far end then shouted, "That's right! Even though I always come half an hour early, I've never been able to get a seat. That's because all the girls from the other departments who want to see Professor Kipling are taking up space. Additionally, all of you even run over to ask questions after class. With the kind of rubbish that you guys are asking, only someone as innocent as Professor Kipling wouldn't be suspicious." "Exactly! Professor Kipling only gives 4 lectures a month. I've attended 10 lectures and I still haven't been able to squeeze to the front to ask him questions." The girls didn't know what to say. Voices of assent rose, and many students who had squeezed to the front left guiltily. That female student also hurriedly rushed out of the classroom, embarrassed. To her surprise, Sylvia noticed that there were also quite a few male students amongst them. The world was truly getting crazier. Even men would become infatuated with other men. Seeing the number of students dwindling, a male student yelled to Sylvia,
"The teacher's wife is amazing!"
"The teacher's wife is amazing!" The other people chimed in. Jack was completely stupefied by this scene. "All right, please stop saying that, everyone. Just hurry up and ask your questions." Sylvia waved her hand at them. "Thank you, madam." Jack took a long time to react, and he slowly coached the students. It was almost noon when the students sent Jack and Sylvia off. When they were about to leave, the students even said warmly, "We welcome the professor's wife to visit again. The professor's wife is so cool." As everyone left, the classroom grew silent. After a long while, Jack stammered, "Sylvia, you—" "Me?" Sylvia glanced at him. "What about me?" Impressive," Jack muttered, giving a thumbs up. He could still not make sense of what had just taken place. He also could not wrap his mind around how she had managed to chase away so many of his students. Everyone now viewed her as his wife. Jack felt oddly shy. "So you think I'm not making any sense?" Sylvia crossed her arms in front of her chest, looking justified and self-righteous. "I may seem like I'm jealous, but I'm actually correcting the inappropriate conduct in your class. Don't you normally notice this at all?" Jack scratched his head with a baffled expression on his face. Sylvia found him to be rather slow-witted, and she gave him a look before continuing. "Many of your students didn't care about the answer to their questions at all. They merely wanted to get close to you and listen to you speaking because you're so good-looking." "I see." The realization finally hit Jack. "I didn't know." "That's because you're too innocent and you wouldn't think too much about it." Sylvia sighed. "Let me ask you, what do you think of the question asked by the students who came to consult you after the lecture today?" "The questions seemed more meaningful, and some of them were extremely specific." Jack suddenly became happier. "I like answering them." "Exactly. After all, you're a physics professor and not a celebrity. If you can't impart your knowledge to those who truly need it, then your lessons are wasted," Sylvia said with a sigh. "Because of that, I'm willing to play the villain for the sake of those students. I merely hope to groom more scientists. I don't care what others will think of me." "Sylvia, you're so noble." Jack was full of admiration for her. "Don't mention it," Sylvia said as she waved her hands. "This is my responsibility as a cop." "Sylvia, you're seriously the greatest cop I've ever seen." Jack adored her deadly right now, and he felt lucky to be liked by her. "Sylvia, I genuinely thought that you were jealous, and I even felt a little gleeful because of that." He felt very proud that his woman had become so fierce for his sake. "Why would I be jealous? I'm proud of you," Sylvia replied as she abruptly turned to look at him with an unusually serious expression. Her gaze made Jack's heart soften, and he felt as if he was bursting with joy. Jack ordered quite a few dishes when they ate in the canteen, and he kept piling food onto Sylvia's plate. "Sylvia, you should eat more. The chicken's good." "My hands are tired. Feed me," Sylvia said lazily. "Sure." Jack began to feed her obediently. Some of the students seated around them began to whisper to one another. "Wow, who is she? Professor Kipling's so nice to her." "Hey, keep your volume down. I heard that this woman flew into a rage in Professor Kipling's lecture just now. She's the jealous type, and she looks so fierce." "Are you serious? How fierce can she be when she's crippled? Professor Kipling's taste in women is so strange. Did his mind get all muddled up by the research that he's fiddling with every day?" The couple stayed silent for a while. Sylvia then looked at Jack with a calm expression. "See? Sometimes it's tough being the good guy." Jack frowned. All of a sudden, he stood up and turned to face the girls who were gossiping away. "Let me warn all of you. Better be polite to my fiancée. She's not crippled. Her leg is only temporarily injured. But I'll still like her even if she walks with a limp forever. Besides, what has this got to do with you guys? How can you badmouth your professor and his fiancée so casually?" Many students in the canteen had obviously been observing Jack and Sylvia. Everyone quietened down when he suddenly stood up to challenge them. At the same time, the palpable tension caused everyone to feel short of breath. The girls who were gossiping were also frightened. Professor Kipling was always known to be a mild-tempered person, and they were shocked by his sudden harshness. Professor Kipling? We're sorry. One of the girls apologized before quickly grabbing her friends and leaving. Sylvia raised her eyebrows, as it was rare to see Jack flare up. The chances of the sun rising from the west might even be higher than him getting angry. She propped her chin on her hands and gazed at him as he sat down once again. When their eyes met, she could tell that he was still indignant. Sylvia, don't feel upset anymore. These students should just focus on their studies. They truly have nothing better to do, do they? I think what you did this morning was right. I wouldn't have noticed this if it wasn't for you. Don't mention it, Sylvia said as she patted the back of his hand. I don't care about them since I'm much older than them. But when I was an undergraduate, I was completely focused on studying. I wouldn't bother about any gossip or rumors that spread. Sylvia, you're very impressive, Jack praised her incessantly. How could someone be so great? I know, right? I don't know how remarkable I was either. Sylvia heaved out a faint sigh. Perhaps it was because of my family's upbringing. Yup, Jack nodded furiously in agreement. Sylvia was too perfect, and Jack felt extremely lucky to have met her. He desperately wanted to hold on to his piece of luck for the rest of his life. After their meal, Jack drove his car onto the streets to shop for a diamond ring with Sylvia. He had made this decision after proposing to Sylvia last night. He wanted to get her a diamond ring that she liked. All the shops in the first story sold expensive jewelry. After Jack pushed Sylvia into one of the shops, she immediately felt the shop assistants shooting looks of both envy and pity at her. Perhaps everyone felt that it was a pity for a handsome man like Jack to have a wife with a lame leg. However, Sylvia was not bothered by this. Sylvia, what kind of ring do you like? Jack would occasionally examine the diamond rings. However, as every single ring shone brilliantly and looked magnificent, he felt that all of them would suit Sylvia. I don't know, let's just look around. Sylvia's head was throbbing. She did not usually wear such things, so she was not very interested in them. When she was dating Jeremy previously, however, she would intentionally buy several accessories to doll herself up with. Alas, she would toss them aside after wearing them just a few times. We can't just look around, we have to buy a ring, Jack said firmly. When the shop assistant heard their exchange, she immediately brought out a ring with a heart-shaped diamond and said, This is the latest design in our shop. It's extravagant, intricate, and fashionable, and it won't look too gaudy. Why don't you give it a try? Jack found the ring beautiful when he first looked at it. However, after taking it from the shop assistant and observing it, he realized that it merely cost over $10,000. He then placed it down and shook his head as he commented, This is too cheap. The shop assistant was stunned. Oh, what's the price range that you're looking at? She asked. Jack cluelessly replied, I don't know. I suppose the more expensive it is, the better it'll be. Why do you want such an expensive ring? It's fine as long as I think it suits me. It doesn't even matter if it's cheap, Sylvia said as she picked up the ring that the shop assistant had recommended. However, she did not like it that much after she tried it on. She then continued, It's not shining as brilliantly as I'd like it to. Could you give me a shinier one? The shop assistant felt rather awkward since rings that shone more brilliantly tended to have more diamonds and would be more expensive. Take a look at this then. This ring is embossed with diamonds all over it and is exceptionally brilliant, the shop assistant said quickly. It's called Perfection. That sounds good. Jack nodded his head in satisfaction. He liked the name, for he wanted to have a perfect life with Sylvia. Sylvia tried it on and found its brilliance acceptable. The shop assistant replied uneasily, This design is slightly expensive. It cost $80,000. Sylvia, do you like it? Let's get this if you like it, Jack suggested. Yes, but don't you find it a little too expensive? Sylvia still wanted to hear his opinion. After all, he worked as a researcher, but her family owned a business. Hence, their spending behaviors might differ. No, I don't have a budget, Jack replied honestly. Mr. Maxwell said that I can't get a ring that's too cheap since you're as priceless as a princess. Sylvia was almost moved to tears. Mr. Maxwell was a great man. As a middle-aged man, he was very outstanding indeed. He was fashionable and generous, and he had his ways with people. The shop assistant merely felt like crying. Had she known that Jack and Sylvia were looking for an expensive ring, she would have shown them their shop's prized item. Actually, we have another ring that's even more brilliant, the shop assistant said. It's all right, we'll take this. Its name sounds pretty good, Sylvia said. Could you recommend a men's ring? Subsequently, Sylvia chose a cool, brilliant men's diamond ring for Jack. His hand was fair and slender, and it looked nice with everything. They bought some juice after making their purchases, and Sylvia took a photo of herself holding his hand. She then sent it to the group chat with her friends along with the words, "Give us your blessings." Within less than 10 minutes, her group chat was flooded with more than 100 messages and a few hundred likes. Aaron wrote, "Please don't tell me that you've already agreed to Jack's proposal." Richard wrote, "What the heck? Are you going to beat me to this as well?" April wrote, "Best wishes to you. Congrats. I will be there at your wedding banquet." Winnie wrote, "Wishing you both a happy life." David wrote, "Sylvia, why didn't you inform your dad before you agreed to the proposal?" Jack did not look at his phone as he did not like to do so, and he would rather look at Sylvia instead. When he saw his girlfriend snickering discreetly as she looked at her phone, he reminded her, "Sylvia, drink some juice." Sylvia looked up at him, and when she saw how innocent and harmless he looked, she snatched a drink from his hands and took a sip before saying, "Go look at the group chat with my family." Puzzled, Jack tapped into the group chat, and when he saw what she had written, he felt a strong, sweet, and tender feeling in his heart. As a tough lady, she rarely displayed her affection for her boyfriend in the group chat with her friends and family. While he was obviously happy, he soon felt depressed and disappointed. He did not know what to do if talks were to harm Sylvia because of him. He did not care about where these people were hiding or if he would be harmed, but he could not put Sylvia's life in danger. "What's wrong? You're neither agitated, happy, excited, nor honored," Sylvia asked all at once. She was displeased with a frown on his face. "Nothing. I'm just happy," Jack replied sincerely. "But I'm also slightly afraid." "What are you afraid of?" Sylvia blinked several times. "Are you scared that I'll annoy you after we get married?" "No, I'm afraid that I won't be able to give you happiness," Jack said. He was slightly vexed. Sylvia frowned and abruptly slammed the glass of juice down on the table. "Jack, why did you court me back then if you're afraid that you can't give me happiness?" she replied in frustration. "Why did you like me then? Now that I'm yours, you're telling me that you're afraid that you can't give me happiness? Are you having second thoughts about this?" "No!" Jack jumped in fright. "Sylvia, don't get so worked up about this." "How can I not?" Sylvia replied gloomily. "I don't like men who are irresponsible." Jack's heart ached, as though he had been stung by a bee. "I'm not an irresponsible person." "Remember my words." Sylvia moved closer to his ear and said in a low voice, "I'll never forgive you if you hurt me." Jack's eyes twitched violently. On their way back, Sylvia received a call from Aaron, who complained, "Why didn't you call to seek my approval when he proposed to you? Besides, why is that diamond ring so small? It can't even hold a candle to the one that I gave to your sister-in-law." "Well, then did you ever call to seek my permission when you proposed to April?" Sylvia rolled her eyes at a loss for words. Do you think that everyone is rich like you and can afford to give a ring with a diamond that's as big as a goose egg? Do you ever see April wear a ring with such a big diamond when she heads out on normal days? Everyone's scared of getting robbed.
I just want to give April the best. I don't care if she wears it or not, Aaron snorted coldly. As for you, you're a descendant of the Bennett family. How could you be won over by a ring with such a tiny diamond?
Excuse me, but I was the one who proposed. Sylvia immediately cut him off.
Sylvia! Aaron found it hard to believe. You must be crazy. You're a girl.
No, I'm not just an average girl. You wouldn't understand what it's like to be a maverick, Sylvia replied lazily. Besides, I'm pretty and rich, so I can afford to be willful. Aaron was speechless. He rubbed the area between his brows before saying,
All right then, let's talk about the incident with that criminal. Dad warned you to wait for the truth to come to light. And yet you're not afraid to put your life on the line at all.
Sylvia took one glance at Jack, who was navigating the car seriously beside her. She then replied calmly, I think Dad must have told you that I don't wish to talk about this anymore. After Sylvia hung up on Aaron, he stared at his cell phone with a worried expression. Sylvia always made others worry for her. Mr. Bennett! Marvin called out right at that moment, entering the room after knocking on the door.
You're just in time, Aaron said.
He immediately stood up and asked in a deep voice,
Didn't I ask you to send someone to protect Sylvia covertly? Did any suspicious person appear around her?
We did not find out much for now, Marvin answered as he brought out a deck of documents.
Didn't you ask me to look into Mr. Kipling and his family's history recently?
I discovered some of Mr. Kipling's and his parents' research findings. The family of 3 are all extremely remarkable scientists in their respective fields. His father went to study abroad in the 80s.
I don't want to look at their research findings. Aaron casually browsed through the documents. I'm not very interested in these. I just want to know why Jack is so withdrawn, what sort of secretive and dangerous research he's involved in, and why he appeared in Rosewood City so abruptly 3 years ago. He even has a team of specialized personnel to protect him.
Well, this information is classified and I can't find anything about it. Marvin laughed bitterly before he resumed and said, However, I did find that a group of biologists discovered a complete fossilized carcass of a Cuvieronius elephant in South America when Jack was 12. That fossil was subsequently transported to a lab in Vietnam, while Adam and several top-notch international scientists also traveled there. It was said that they were going to extract the elephant cells to recreate it, but there was an explosion at the heart of the laboratory right when they were about to succeed. 5 people died back then. Unfortunately, Adam had brought his son along and Jack had been playing alone when the incident occurred. He was buried under the debris after the explosion, and he was only rescued after 10 days and 10 nights because there were simply too many casualties. Adam was also in a coma, and the local environmental conditions were dreadful. Aaron gasped in shock.
How did he survive for 10 days and 10 nights?
In the past, when Aaron was a soldier, he had participated in rescue missions during earthquakes and had witnessed numerous tragic scenarios. Many people had died from starvation or dehydration, simply because they were not rescued on time or because the rescue work could not be executed properly. It was already a miracle to be alive for a week. It was said that he drank his pee, blood, and also the dirty water that flowed down when it rained. Marvin's supple lips felt dry when he said that. He had seen Jack before, and he could hardly imagine that a delicate and well-groomed man like him had experienced such a terrible thing. By the time the rescue team found him, he had already been staying in a pitch-black area for 10 days and was not exposed to any light at all. He was huddled below the concrete iron, and he was as thin as a bag of bones. They rushed him to the hospital and managed to save his life, but he had become quiet since then. He wouldn't speak or interact with anyone, Marvin recounted softly. His world only revolved around learning physics and astronomy. It's not that hard to imagine. A normal person would likely have chosen to die if he were to live under such terrible circumstances for 10 days. Aaron rubbed the area between his brows and considered viewing Jack in a new light. It was probably also difficult for someone like him, who had good mental caliber and physical fitness, to be put through such an ordeal. Even if he did make it through, he would likely have gone mad. As this thought flashed across his mind, Aaron wondered if his past actions toward Jack had gone overboard. He was generally uncaring towards others, but he admired people who could put up with hardships. "Oh, right. Why did the lab explode?" Aaron asked suddenly. An international organization called TOX was said to be responsible for it. This organization was involved in many high-tech crimes, Marvin explained. Back then, an insider said that it was likely because they wanted to obtain the information on how to resurrect the Cuvieronius elephant so that they could repeatedly breed the species and sell its bones at a high price. Imagine the amount of money that this prehistoric animal could bring. "So it was them," Aaron said as he slammed his hand on the table. "I heard of this organization when I was on a mission back then in the army. They committed many atrocities and were subsequently destroyed. I've heard the people in the police department mention that they had a hand in Sylvia's injury this time. It seems like they've resurfaced again. If this is true, then I suppose Miss Bennett's injury has something to do with Mr. Kipling." Marvin's tone carried a hint of worry. "Should we inform her about this?" "What's the point in telling her?" Aaron replied coldly. "Will she leave Jack just because she knows that it's dangerous to be with him? At this point, she may stick to him even more closely to protect him, even though she's already walking with a limp. Talk certainly wants to get something out of Jack, but they know that he won't give it to them. As a result, they're now targeting the people around him as a form of warning. What should we do then? Are they going to make a move on Miss Bennett again?" Marvin became anxious. "These people are too lawless. She's a cop, and she has the Bennett family support. They must have hidden well if they dared to do this. Besides, nobody has picked up on anything before this. We even thought that this was a normal case of kidnapping." Aaron shook his head. "This matters beyond us. We can only leave it to Interpol. We know nothing of the number of people in Rosewood City who are part of this organization, as well as their identities and social standing. I believe that the person called Maxwell, who hangs around Jack, is also not a fool. He should be prepared. We only need to protect Sylvia from danger, and the lesser she knows, the better. Isn't it good for her to be carefree like how she is now?" Marvin sighed and said, "It hasn't been easy for Miss Bennett. In the past, she liked Mr. Jeremy, but he has not always been by her side. Now that she has fallen for someone else, she's being targeted by criminals. I'm worried that she'll get hurt. I hope Jack can settle this quickly." There was a dark expression on Aaron's face. "If I were Jack, I would choose to leave my loved ones for the sake of their safety if things continue to worsen." "I think I would as well," Marvin agreed. "But if he leaves, it will probably be a significant blow for Miss Bennett. Consequently, she may even stop believing in love. That's why, since things have already reached this stage, let's try not to separate the couple while fulfilling the condition of ensuring Sylvia's safety. It's easy to evade an open attack, but it's hard to guard against a secret ambush." Aaron stood up and looked out of the French window with a worried expression in his eyes. Jack accompanied Sylvia to a follow-up appointment at the hospital in the middle of March. The doctor informed them that she had largely recovered after removing the stitches from her wound. She would be able to return to the police station to work in an admin position after recuperating for a few more days. Sylvia was happy when she heard this, as she was almost bored to death from staying at home every day for the past several days. After they left the doctor's office, Sylvia suggested, "I heard that there's a spring festival in the botanical garden. Let's go there and take a look since we have nothing better to do anyway." "Sure." Jack nodded his head in agreement after pondering for a moment. The botanical garden was crowded, and the couple only made their way home when it was 4 p.m. On their way back, Sylvia said, "The cherry blossoms in the garden aren't the real deal at all. The genuinely beautiful ones are in Japan. If it wasn't because of the inconvenience caused by my limp, I would have taken some time off for us to travel to Japan together. I haven't seen the cherry blossoms in Japan before, Jack said as he shook his head. But since you said that they're pretty, then I'm sure they must be. I'll bring you there next year, Sylvia chuckled as she said. It's just unfortunate that we can't make it in time this year. Okay, Jack replied while nodding his head seriously. He wanted to see the cherry blossoms with Sylvia and do many of the things that she enjoyed doing. Before reaching home, the couple made a trip to the supermarket again to buy some fruits. By the time they finally reached it, it was almost 5 p.m. Jack parked their car and pushed Sylvia over to the elevator. The elevator reached the 11th story when it jerked violently out of nowhere. Jack subconsciously carried Sylvia over and leaned against the corner of the wall. Immediately after, the lift suddenly plunged downwards as though it had lost control. Although Sylvia was normally bold and fearless, at that very moment, she still clung to Jack tightly and shrieked in terror. Jack's mind went blank as well, and he felt a sense of weightlessness. Just when he thought that he was going to die in the lift jerked once again and stopped. The number 2 flashed in the elevator, and the elevator door opened after that. When Jack and Sylvia saw the ground outside of the elevator, they felt extremely lucky to have survived the disaster. The lift had plunged from the 11th story to the 2nd story. Had it plunged further down, they would have been smashed to pieces. Jack hurriedly pushed Sylvia out of the elevator before bending down to hug her tightly. Both of them were trembling as Jack asked, Sylvia, are you all right? Sylvia was panting heavily and her face was ghastly pale as she replied, What's wrong with the elevator in this neighborhood? It's going to kill someone. Give the property management team a call as soon as possible. I've been paying high property management fees every month, but do they actually conduct maintenance for the elevators? We're lucky we didn't plunge to our deaths. Jack shook violently as he hugged her, and he neither spoke nor moved. Was this a coincidence? Or was someone trying to hurt them? Are you scared? Sylvia noticed his reticence, and she forced herself to calm down before she said jokingly, Just cry if you want to. Don't hold your tears back. Jack lowered his head, and his clear eyes were incandescent with both anger and trepidation. Sylvia, now isn't the time for jokes. Do you realize that we almost died just now? Sylvia had intended to console him. However, when she heard how harsh he sounded, she became angry as well, probably because he had never treated her like this before. I suppose I've implicated you this time. If you didn't come to my house to take care of me, you wouldn't have experienced this. That's not what I meant. Jack pouted as he moved his thin lips. He did not know what to do, and he could only extend his arms to hug her tightly again. I just don't want you to get injured, he said in a quivering voice. Stunned for a moment, Sylvia buried her face in his chest and muttered, You fool! Both of us would have died in the situation earlier on. Why would you even care if I'm injured? Miss Bennett, are you all right? At that very moment, 3 tall and burly men rushed up the stairs and dashed over anxiously. Their trio seemed to be badly shaken. Are you all? Sylvia was slightly baffled. She tried to recall who they were, but she had never seen these 3 men before. From the property management team? No, Mr. Aaron has assigned us to protect you. One of the muscular men stepped forward and said, I'm Darko. We were in the car park just now, and we were scared silly when the elevator light suddenly went off. Thank goodness you're all right. Protect me? Sylvia let go of Jack, her face riddled with astonishment. When did all of you begin protecting me? We've been watching over you since you were discharged from the hospital, Darko answered. Mr. Bennett is quite worried about you, but he's afraid that you'll object to our protection. Hence, he told us to watch over you covertly. I had no idea at all, Sylvia mumbled. This was an utter humiliation for a cop. However, Sylvia knew that Aaron was probably worried that someone would harm her because of Jack's matters. ever since she spoke to David. That was probably why he had sent people to protect her. Sylvia was quite touched. Her brother usually seemed vile, but he was quite protective of her during critical moments.
Miss Bennett, both of you should head upstairs first.
Darko frowned as he stared at the elevator.
We'll get the staff from the property management team to come here and take a look. Let's not use the elevator for the time being.
All right. Thanks for your trouble, Sylvia replied. She no longer dared to use the elevator. When they reached their apartment, Jack carried Jackie and sat down on the sofa. He remained silent, and his delicate, handsome face still looked pale. Meanwhile, the innocent and naive Jackie nuzzled up against his chest. Sylvia drank a huge glass of water and pondered over whether this incident was a coincidence, or if someone had genuinely wanted to hurt her. After 15 minutes, the manager of the property management team appeared with an apologetic expression on his face. He knew who Sylvia was. When Aaron bought this apartment back then, Aaron had specifically highlighted that Miss Bennett was living here alone and had asked the security to take special care of her. The manager of the property management team was utterly shocked after the incident happened this afternoon. He felt as though his heart was going to stop, and he felt greatly relieved that the lift did not crash. Otherwise, he would probably have to spend the rest of his life in prison.
Miss Bennett, I'm very sorry. You must be shaken.
The manager apologized as he bowed deeply in front of her.
We conduct maintenance on the elevators every week, and I have no idea why such a terrifying incident could happen. I've already asked the elevator repairman to look into this.
I hope you can give me an explanation for this, Sylvia said. While this was not the first time she had a brush with death, the horrifying feeling of weightlessness that she experienced when the lift plunged was too scary.
Rest assured that we will.
Aaron arrived half an hour later. When he stepped into the room, General Manager had yet to leave, and the atmosphere was very solemn and stifling. Brother? Sylvia greeted him first, and she sounded quite relaxed. She had caused her family members to worry about her because of her recent injury. As she did not want them to worry about her even more, she said, You didn't inform Dad and Mom, did you? It's just a minor incident. Besides, I'm fine now.
A minor incident?
A fleeting cold and sharp look flashed in Aaron's eyes.
It's only a minor incident that your elevator plunged from the 11th story to the 2nd story. You could have been smashed to pieces if it had plunged another 2 stories down. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't take good care of Sylvia.
Jack abruptly stood up and clenched his fist in guilt.
I shouldn't have brought Sylvia out to the botanical garden. We should have headed home straight away after the follow-up appointment.
Aaron felt a mix of emotions as he glanced at Jack. Ever since Marvin looked into Jack's past, Aaron could no longer bring himself to flare up at Jack. On the contrary, he felt a hint of admiration for him.
Forget it. You were also trapped in the elevator. We can't pinpoint such a matter to anyone. Nobody can be blamed for it, he said.
Sylvia looked at her brother with a raised eyebrow. She had initially expected her brother to unreasonably get angry at Jack. Brother, you're much more magnanimous and reasonable now, she remarked.
Since when have I not been magnanimous and reasonable?
Aaron asked as he glared at her crossly.
Are the two of you all right?
I'm fine, Sylvia said and nodded her head. However, Jack merely pursed his lips in silence with a troubled expression. 5 minutes later, the elevator repairman came out and explained uneasily.
I checked through the elevator once just now. It seems there's a fault with the inverter. The fault lasted for around 2 seconds, and it was quickly restored subsequently. 2 seconds? Aaron narrowed his eyes. When you're in an elevator, 1 second of malfunctioning alone can be fatal. Not to mention 2 seconds. It's practically a miracle to be alive. How do you guys usually conduct your maintenance?
The repairman replied glumly.
I just conducted maintenance on it 3 days ago. There was nothing wrong with the elevator at that time. I also don't understand why such a thing could happen so abruptly. Besides, the elevator has been in service for 7 years.
and this is the first time it's malfunctioned like this." Aaron remained silent for a moment. Back then, this was one of the fancier, high-end neighborhoods in Rosewood City. Aaron had studied the fire safety measures and the quality of things like the elevator and the property before buying the apartment. "CEO Bennett, I'll relay this to the manufacturer of the elevator," the property management manager continued. "I'll get the manufacturer to come and inspect this personally. It's not best to use this elevator for the time being. I'm very sorry about today's incident. We can waive 2 years' worth of property management fees for Miss Bennett. Alternatively, we can also offer compensation for the emotional distress caused." "Sure." Aaron nodded his head as he sent the property management staff out. When they reached the door, Aaron then gestured to the general manager to move in closer before speaking into his ear. "Could you investigate if anyone did something to this elevator before the incident happened, or if anyone suspicious appeared in the neighborhood?" General Manager was stunned for a moment, but he hastily nodded his head in agreement. When Aaron returned to the house, he immediately ordered, "Pack up. You'll stay at my place for the time being." Sylvia frowned and replied, "I don't want to. We're pretty fine with staying here. The property management team will pay closer attention to the elevator from now on, so problems like this won't happen again. If you're still worried, I'll use the stairs." "You don't have to go to work now. It doesn't make a difference where you stay, right?" Aaron furrowed his brows in frustration. "Listen to me, Sylvia. You're not young anymore, and our parents are worried sick because of the accident this time. Call it an accident or whatever, but there are just too many things that have happened recently, and we're all worried about you." Sylvia pursed her lips in annoyance and glanced at Jack helplessly. Jack lowered his head and tried to hide his expression. He stroked her hair and whispered gently, "Sylvia, I think it's better if you listen to your brother this time." "Jack," Sylvia spoke through gritted teeth. "This fool! If she went back to stay in the Bennett house, the two of them would not be able to spend time together given how strict her brother was." "Sylvia, he's just worried about you," Jack muttered gently. "Besides, we haven't figured out what happened with the elevator, so I don't want you to get on any elevator for now. It's extremely boring being cooped up in an apartment as well. And your brother's place has a backyard. That will make things more bearable." "You're just afraid that I'll stop you two from doing those shady things, aren't you? I promise I won't interfere, all right?" Sylvia was shocked when she heard him. Was he her brother? He used to look at Jack with wariness and caution. Was he patronizing her? "What shady things? We're a couple. It's normal for us to share hugs and kisses." "I'm not going to waste time on this. Just pack up your stuff. Or do you want me to do it for you?" Aaron exclaimed unceremoniously. "I'll do it." Jack abruptly stood up and replied. 20 minutes later, Jack loaded the boot with the trunk and looked down. "Sylvia, you head over with your brother first," he said softly. "I need to grab something from my place. I'll see you at night." "Okay." Sylvia wanted to speak to Aaron about something in private as well. "How about you come over tomorrow? It's not safe to drive so late at night. Not to mention you must be exhausted from today as well." Before Jack could reply, Sylvia added quickly, "It's decided then. Text me later." She pecked him on the cheek before leaving with Aaron. In the car, he rolled his eyes and mocked, "Don't you think the two of you are gross?" "As if you don't behave the same way with April." Sylvia pouted and narrowed her eyes at the man in the rearview mirror. She looked slightly worried, as if something was on her mind. "Brother, do you think that what happened today wasn't an accident? Is that why you're asking me to stay with you?" "I'm not sure either, but I just want to play safe. You only have one shot at life, and we can't risk it." Aaron looked serious as he drove away. "Do you all think that Jack is the reason why I'm injured?" Sylvia prodded him further with a downcast expression. "Don't overthink things. We haven't figured things out ourselves, but it pays to be careful. Don't end up getting yourself killed before you even step into the church with him." Aaron's words cut Sylvia like a knife. "You're an old maiden now, so you should get to enjoy married life in this lifetime,
It'll be a pity if you don't."
"Shut up!" Sylvia hit his shoulder. "I'll get married for sure. I'm going to give birth to many little Jackies." Meanwhile, Jackie barked happily in the back seat. Aaron turned to look at the dog as he tried hard not to giggle.
"You want to give birth to puppies, eh? You're genuinely trying your best, aren't you?"
Sylvia ignored his comment. She definitely did not mean that. "April, do you think he has gotten tired of taking care of me?" Sylvia asked suddenly. April turned to see her staring out the window, looking slightly troubled and unsettled. She quickly rebutted, "Don't be ridiculous. Professor Kipling isn't someone like that. If he does feel that way, I don't think I'll ever believe in love again." Sylvia fell completely silent. Did April consider her brother's feelings when she said that? "What about you?" April laughed. "When did you grow so dependent on Professor Kipling? You've only spent one night apart from each other. Do you truly take him to be your little Jackie?" "I must have gotten used to seeing him every day now that we're living together." Sylvia was shocked to find how needy and clingy she had gotten. "I'm worried that he's shocked by the events that day as well. He has quite a weak heart after all. He was trembling when he held me in his arms yesterday. I felt bad watching his tiny frame shiver like that." April was speechless. Did the two of them reverse their roles in their relationship? Sylvia turned to look at her. "Have you ever met anyone whom you just have an instinct to protect? To protect forever?" April stared at her blankly. "Are you asking me about your brother? I have the urge to kick him whenever I see him." Sylvia did not utter another word. "I think you better just take care of our little Apple forever." Sylvia chuckled as she carried little Apple in her arms. Little Apple wrapped his arms around her neck and hugged her sweetly. Sylvia felt slightly envious as she looked at the two of them. She too wanted to get married. Sylvia held herself back for the entire morning, but she became slightly anxious in the afternoon. Jack was still not picking up her calls. Eventually, she decided to call Mr. Maxwell. "Mr. Maxwell, is Jack all right? He isn't picking up my calls." Mr. Maxwell looked at the shut door helplessly. He didn't know what to say. "Everything's all right. He's in his laboratory. I'm not sure what he's up to, but he seems pretty serious." Sylvia was upset when she heard him. Are his experiments more important than me? He should be picking up my calls no matter the circumstance. Did he forget about that? That's just the way it is. Sometimes he'll forget to take his meals and rest when he gets into his research. I'll ask him to call you back immediately after he comes out," Mr. Maxwell said, then hung up hastily. Sylvia looked at her phone. She had a feeling of uneasiness at the bottom of her stomach. Jack would never treat her this way. She slammed the table and declared, "I'm going to look for Jack." "Your brother said that you're not allowed to go out." April had turned down projects and gigs just to watch her at home these 2 days. "April, don't listen to my brother. It's not that dangerous outside." Sylvia was confident and insistent. "He likes to make mountains out of molehills." "Sylvia, men don't like it when women are too clingy." April tried to persuade her gently. "What are you saying? I think my brother enjoys it quite a bit." "Your brother is an outlier." April threw her hands up helplessly. "If I cling onto him every day, even if he enjoys it at the beginning, he'll eventually lose interest and find me tiresome. All men like it when women play hard to get, just like your brother. If I ignore him for a day, he'll be hopping around anxiously." Sylvia was stunned. April's words made sense. April handed her phone over to her. "You can play some games if you're bored." Thus, she played mobile games until the second day, but there was still no news from Jack. It was almost as if he had disappeared. Sylvia could no longer sit still, but Aaron forbade her from leaving the mansion. "Brother, did you say something to Jack?" Sylvia could tell that something was wrong. "Ever since we started dating, there hasn't been a day when he ignored me and didn't contact me. Did you tell him that a criminal organization has its eyes on him or something? Did you ask him to leave me for the sake of my safety? He's a fool." He might have believed you and agreed to your terms.
Aaron was furious when he heard her. Why do you think of me as such a despicable man?
I don't know. Sylvia bit her lips. You've never given us your support. You even suspected that the accident yesterday had something to do with him, too.
Sylvia, I'm telling you, you're going to stay here. You're not going anywhere else, Aaron warned her sternly. You want to see him? Fine. I'll drag him here for you. I can't stand youngsters like you. You can't stand not seeing each other for just one day. I was apart from April for several months. Can't you be a little more resilient?
Sylvia was a little embarrassed when Aaron told her off like this. Was she being too spoiled and willful? She had never acted this way before. She was fine with seeing him just once a week before. What happened to her now? Aaron drove his car and sped to the foot of Jack's apartment. He frantically went up to the apartment block and pressed the doorbell to Jack's house. After a long time, a burly man finally opened the door. Aaron could recognize him at one glance. That man was among those who came to pick Jack up when he first came to his house. Aaron had not seen this man around Jack for a very long time, and yet he appeared again today. Aaron's expression became solemn, and he could tell that something was amiss.
Where's Jack? He asked. He's in his room, Christian answered.
He then moved aside to let Aaron into the house.
Mr. Bennett, you're just in time. I hope you can help us persuade him.
Mr. Maxwell walked over and sighed as he asked,
I'm sure you're much more aware of certain matters than Miss Bennett. Yesterday, our mister said that you've even instructed the property management manager to investigate if anyone suspicious had appeared in the neighborhood before the incident. I'm sure you've already figured out that yesterday's elevator incident wasn't purely an accident. Aaron's expression turned cold, and he replied, What are your thoughts about this? You guys are the cause of this. We hope that Mr. Kipling and Miss Bennett can stay separately for the time being, Christian said before he continued to explain the plans that his superiors have worked out. The organization has already committed more than 500 crimes all over the world since around 5 years ago. The funds amounted to 100 billion US dollars, and the crimes that they committed were all high IQ crimes. Morally corrupt researchers from various countries have joined their organization, and we still couldn't locate their hideout up till now. Mr. Bennett, you were from the Special Forces, so we hope you can understand our feelings. Aaron clenched his fists tightly. He had known that Jack was not a simple man since a long time ago, and yet the thing that he least wanted to see still happened. Aaron ignored Christian and headed straight for the master bedroom, but the room was locked from the inside. I have the key, Mr. Maxwell said. He then retrieved a key and opened the door. Our mister hasn't come out of the room ever since he went in yesterday. He neither ate nor drank. Aaron entered the room and found Jack huddled on the huge bed. He was tightly tucked under his blanket and only his head popped out from beneath. A stubble had grown all over his chin and he looked less well-groomed and slightly more dispirited. He was quiet and his eyes were shut as though he was asleep. Not going easy on Jack, Aaron immediately yanked his blanket away. Jack immediately curled up into a ball and hugged his head as he murmured, I don't want to break up. I don't want to break up. A look of pity flashed across Aaron's face. Aaron then pulled him up and said, Nobody's asking you to break up with Sylvia. When Jack heard Sylvia's name, his eyelashes quivered, and he then opened his eyes slowly. When he saw Aaron, he immediately dived back under his blanket in fear and said, I'm not talking to you. You must be here to force me to break up with Sylvia. Aaron could feel the corners of his lips twitching. He wondered how evil he must have seemed for Jack to be so terrified of him. I'm not intending to force you guys to break up, Aaron said as he rubbed the area between his brows. He then forcefully yanked the covers away from Jack and threw them onto the ground. As he was tossing the blanket, a woman's lingerie suddenly fell out from it. Stupefied for a moment, Aaron quickly hauled Jack up in anger and asked, Who the heck does this belong to? Which stage have you and Sylvia reached?
I'm not telling you. Jack violently shook him off before lunging for the lingerie and hugging it in his chest. Aaron inhaled several deep breaths of air before speaking in a cold, low voice. Since things have reached this state, do you think that everything will be fine as long as you hide and avoid everyone? Have you ever considered how worried Sylvia was when she couldn't reach you at all for the past 2 days? Her thoughts must be running wild now. Hurry up and give her a call. I won't. You guys want us to break up, Jack replied with his head hung low. Aaron was stunned. He suddenly felt like he could understand why Jack was able to move Sylvia's heart. Sylvia was a tough girl, and he could evoke her desire to protect him. Anyone would think that you want to break up with Sylvia since you've retreated into your own world, ignored everyone, and refused to answer Sylvia's call, Aaron said as he looked down at him condescendingly. Even Sylvia thinks that you're probably sick of taking care of her. I'm not, Jack said as he looked up anxiously. Why would I be sick of taking care of her? Even if she continues to walk with a limp for the rest of her life, I'm willing to take care of her for as long as I live. What do you mean when you say that she'll walk with a limp for the rest of her life? Mind your words, Aaron warned with a dark expression on his face. Jack looked down, forlorn. As he did not hear what Aaron had said, he resumed. I'm not going with you because I don't know what I should do. I don't want to break up with her, but I'm also afraid I'll implicate her. There are certain things that you have to face. Aaron bent down and tried to speak in a gentler voice. Of course. It's certainly better for you to leave Rosewood City and cut off contact with Sylvia for the time being. However, I feel that you can be more honest and clarify things with her. She's not an unreasonable person. Besides, she's a cop, and she'll know that the most important thing now is to catch the criminal. Jack was shocked. Aaron continued to say, Perhaps you may think that you initiated a one-side breakup for her sake, but she'll hate you. She may even doubt herself and put herself down. This is especially so since women tend to let their thoughts run wild. In the past, others have also threatened my wife to break up with me. She kept this from me and ditched me, and I had an exceptionally hard time then. I couldn't understand why, because we were fine in one moment, and yet in the next instant, she told me that she had fallen for someone else. It hurt me more than having a knife pierced through my heart. Afterwards, she said that she was merely putting on an act to trick the other party. She did not let me in on it because she was afraid that the other party would see through my poor acting. We resolved the misunderstanding, but I still can't get over it, even after a long time. I was pretty mad, and I even hated her for a while. I feel that, at the very least, a couple should be honest with each other and clarify things when they face troubles. You may think that you're having a hard time, but it may be worse for the other party. The difference is that at least you know that the other party still loves you. Minimally, you should allow the other party to choose if she wants to break up or to wait. You shouldn't decide on your own. Jack mulled over Aaron's words carefully. Finally, his jet-black eyes seemed as if he had found a ray of hope. Besides, the people in the talks organization may not necessarily buy it since you chose to break up at this moment, Aaron continued. If you truly want to protect Sylvia, you should step forward instead of hiding behind her. You should attract the attention of all the bad guys over to you.